Phineas Nigellus Black has been confirmed as headmaster during Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm here to tell you everything that you need to know about Hogwarts' most unpopular headmaster. Phineas Black was born in 1847, one of 4 children likely born to Cygnus Black I. I say likely because his actual parentage hasn't been confirmed and was only seen briefly in the film adaptation of The Order of the Phoenix. The House of Black was a prominent pure-blood wizarding family and a member of the Sacred 28, which were the 28 families who were still truly pure-blood by the 1930s. While it may seem that families of the Sacred 28 maintaining their pure-blood status for many generations points to their likely disdain for Muggles and Half-Bloods, not all families held these views. Families like the Weasleys, Longbottoms, and Ollivanders were also members of the Sacred 28 and were generally considered to be decent, kind, and hardworking people. The House of Black, however, is more in line with the Malfoys, Gaunts, and Lestranges in that they held a deep disdain for Muggles and Half-Bloods. The Blacks traced their lineage back as far as the Middle Ages and valued their blood purity so much that if there were any Muggles, Half-Bloods, or Squibs in the family tree, they were never recorded or acknowledged. With the Black family motto being always pure, they would never allow these perceived impurities to be associated with the House of Black. Beyond that, even pure-blood members of the Black family who openly supported Muggle rights, such as Phineas Nigellus' own son, also named Phineas, were disowned and removed from the family tree. With this family history in mind, it's no surprise that Phineas Nigellus was no friend to Muggles or Half-Bloods, whom he saw as inferior to him and his kind. Beyond that, it's likely that Phineas looked down on other families of the Sacred 28 as well, due to the prestigious position of his family compared to families such as the Longbottoms and the Weasleys. This decadent and judgmental upbringing molded Phineas Nigellus into an arrogant, self-centered, and ambitious man more concerned with his own advancement than the advancement of wizard kind. Due likely to his ambitions for personal greatness, Phineas Nigellus was sorted into Slytherin House when he began attending Hogwarts in 1858. Little is known of his time as a student at Hogwarts, but it's quite likely that he excelled as a student in much the same way as Draco Malfoy, being heavily favored by his professors and peers due to his family's prominence. Phineas Nigellus finished his schooling in 1865 and later married Ursula Flint, with whom he had their first son, Sirius II, in 1877. Sirius Black II is particularly noteworthy as he'll be around 13 years old in the year 1890 and thus likely a student at Hogwarts during the events of Hogwarts Legacy. Phineas Nigellus would go on to have 4 more children with Ursula Flint: Phineas II, Cygnus, Belvina, and Arcturus. These 4 younger children won't be of age to attend Hogwarts by the events of Hogwarts Legacy, so it's unlikely that we'll encounter them in any meaningful way. At some point before the year 1890, Phineas Nigellus was named headmaster of Hogwarts and would be described by his descendant Sirius III as the least popular headmaster in the history of the school. Described as pompous, disinterested, and cantankerous, it's unlikely that Phineas accepted the appointment as headmaster for any other reason than to bolster his own position in the wizarding community. It's not currently known what led to his appointment to the position or what would have possessed the Ministry of Magic to consider him for the role in the first place, but it's possible that light will be shed on the circumstances surrounding his appointment during the game. We do, however, know that Phineas Nigellus' time as headmaster didn't seem to do much for his pompous and elitist mindset, as he taught his moving portrait to behave in much the same way that he's been described so far. Phineas Nigellus' moving portrait is actually our best look at his overall personality outside of recent Hogwarts Legacy promotional material. After Phineas Nigellus' death in 1925, his moving portrait took up its place in the headmaster's office at Hogwarts as well as on the wall of his family home at 12 Grimmauld Place. While Phineas's portrait doesn't play a major role in the films, the books give us a good look at his general outlook and demeanor. The books portray the moving portraits in the headmaster's office as honor-bound to assist the present headmaster in their endeavors, a job which Phineas doesn't seem to relish. This is likely due to the fact that there was never another Slytherin headmaster after Phineas Nigellus until Severus Snape assumed the role towards the end of the original books. Phineas's portrait likely considered the work of an advisor and assistant to be beneath him, especially when that work involved supporting Albus Dumbledore, one of the greatest allies of Muggles and Muggle-born wizards in history. Throughout his appearances in the books, Phineas's portrait is nearly always shown to be extremely sarcastic and resistant, especially when interacting with Muggle sympathizers and Half-Bloods. Notably, he referred to Hermione Granger as a mudblood when reporting on her activities to Headmaster Snape, which proves that even his portrait had a deep disdain for those of Muggle descent. Despite this, however, Phineas Nigellus' portrait was instrumental in the operations of the Order of the Phoenix, an anti-Voldemort resistance group headed by Albus Dumbledore, and later in Harry Potter's search for the Horcruxes. Having portraits in both the headmaster's office and 12 Grimmauld Place, which became the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix, Phineas's portrait was used to ferry messages between Dumbledore and the Order members, and later between Dumbledore, Harry, and his friends. In his capacity working for Dumbledore, he often made snide and resentful comments about Harry and his friends, as well as Hogwarts students in general. Harry often heard Phineas making sarcastic comments in his frame, which was located in Harry's bedroom during his time at 12 Grimmauld Place. One Once Phineas was even overheard to say that he had loathed being a teacher because young people are so infernally convinced that they're right about everything. Later on, when Severus Snape became headmaster of Hogwarts, Phineas Nigella seemed to have a change of heart, deeply respecting Snape as a fellow Slytherin headmaster. This respect was so deep, in fact, that Phineas would immediately end any interaction with anybody who he heard insult Snape. While Snape was headmaster, Phineas's portrait was removed from 12 Grimmauld Place and brought with Harry, Ron, and Hermione during their quest to track down and destroy Voldemort's Horcruxes. Phineas would provide certain snippets of information about the goings-on at Hogwarts, albeit reluctantly, to the trio and aid them during their quest. This culminated when Phineas overheard Hermione telling the others where they were camped, which allowed Phineas to relay that information back to Snape at his office. Because of this, Snape was able to get the Sword of Gryffindor to the trio to allow them to start destroying the Horcruxes. It's likely that Phineas Nigellus had some notion that Severus Snape was actually working against Voldemort, but chose to help him anyway, which indicates that he likely didn't agree with Voldemort's actions despite his own contempt for Muggles and Half-Bloods. Later, after the Battle of Hogwarts, Phineas was seen to be very happy about the outcome of the battle and the fall of Voldemort, and made sure to mention that Slytherin House had contributed to the victory. After this, his change of heart seemed to be cemented, and he was much less reluctant to provide aid to future headmasters of the school. While Phineas Nigellus Black may be far from a sympathetic character, it can't be said that he's entirely divorced from the concept of right and wrong. Given what we know about his later service as a portrait, it's unlikely that Phineas Nigellus will play the role of a true villain in Hogwarts Legacy, but more likely that he'll act as a cross between, say, Gilderoy Lockhart and Severus Snape. Aloof, self-serving, and inconsiderate like Lockhart, but with Snape's open disdain for most non-Slytherin students. Phineas Nigellus won't likely be acting directly against the students or the Ministry of Magic, but his general outlook and contempt for others will likely cause him to be an obstacle along the path for the player. Now that you've got a good idea of just who Phineas Black actually is, I'd like to hear from you. How do you picture the player interacting with Phineas throughout the game? Do you think there'll be different interactions with him depending on the house that the player chose? Let me know in the comments section down below, and don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more Hogwarts Legacy content. And until next time, peace.